I'm WWE superstar Titus O'Neil, and today I'm coming to you as a neighbor. You owe it to yourself and those you love to get tested now. Get the care you need and protect your family. Hillsborough County is offering free coronavirus testing and no health insurance is needed. It costs you nothing to get tested. Visit hcflgov.net/staysafe for more information and have a reservation made today. Share this with a neighbor, and let's come together as a community and keep fighting to get through this. Together, we will come back stronger. God bless.
Hillsborough County, along with local and federal health experts, are encouraging residents to wear cloth face masks to cover their nose and mouth when in public to help stop the spread of COVID-19. There are not enough surgical face masks for everyone, and available ones should go to healthcare workers and first responders. It's easy to make your own face mask out of common household items. The CDC and U.S. Surgeon General say you can use an old scarf, bandana, or make one using a t-shirt plus 2 rubber bands. Cut part of the t-shirt into a square, fold it from the bottom to the middle, then from the middle to the top. Repeat those steps one more time, then add a rubber band to each side. Bring each end to the middle, then secure around your face. They should fit snugly but comfortably. Cloth face coverings should not be placed on children younger than 2 years of age or people who have trouble breathing. The CDC emphasizes that while wearing a face mask, you should still practice social distancing, stay 6 feet apart from others, and continue other preventative measures such as frequent hand washing. We encourage you to visit hcflgov.net/staysafe for up-to-date information.
Flossing in the morning is a really great way to keep your teeth healthy and start the day. But when you're through, here's what you do. Throw it in the trash, don't flush it. There's a problem lots of people don't know, called sanitary sewer overflow. A condition buried deep in the ground, inside a pipe where bad clouds are found. It's a problem we can all help solve, so throw it in the trash, don't flush it. Baby wipes, bandages, cotton pads, paper towels, dental floss, clog up bad. Medicines, kitty litter, cotton swabs, hair. Throw them in the trash, don't flush it. It just takes a second to do the right thing, so toss it and let's keep our pipes clean. Throw it in the trash, don't flush it. If it's not toilet paper, don't flush it. Even if it says you can, don't flush it. If you're having any doubts, don't flush it. One more time, don't flush it.
Hey everyone, did you know you could watch today's meeting live and on your smart device? Head on over to the Hillsborough County Meetings channel on the YouTube app. Click subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you can be automatically notified when Hillsborough County Meetings goes live. You can also browse any of our past meetings by swiping to the left and scrolling down. All that's left to do is just to click on a video. It's that easy.
This is a battle we've never faced in my lifetime. I want to tell you about 416 of the most amazing people. Every day I get to see their skill, professionalism, and dedication. Their commitment to protect and improve the health of everyone in Hillsborough County. The last 2 months, they've been on the front line of a battle with a very dangerous enemy, COVID-19. And they've risen to the challenge in the most amazing, heroic way. Everyone has contributed, sacrificing their personal life, which they put on hold. They're making a difference for everyone they help, and every day I get stopped and told just how amazing they are. I'm proud and blessed to work with them, my second family.
Is Is your local business or organization looking to give back to the community? Help keep our roads clean by joining the Adopt a Road program administered by Keep Tampa Bay Beautiful. Keeping our roads clean is a great way for team building as well as exposure for your business. Select the road your business wants to adopt and dispatch a team to remove litter and debris. Participants will receive 2 signs showing their organization's name as well as safety equipment and instructions for cleaning roads. You can help keep Tampa Bay beautiful by adopting your own road today. To learn more, visit hcflgov.net/cleanhc.
20 seconds is all it takes for a toddler to drown. In less time than it takes to post on social media or change the laundry, a child can slip out a door and silently drown. Nearly all the children who drowned last year in the Tampa Bay area were last seen inside their home. Visit PreventNeedlessDeaths.com right now to learn more about simple steps you can take today to save a child's life.
Hillsborough County has teamed up with the Department of Health and other public health and safety agencies to address any impacts the virus may have on our local community. To help prevent the spread of the coronavirus, here are a few tips you should know. Practice proper hand washing by using soap and water and wash for at least 20 seconds. Use alcohol-based hand sanitizer if you cannot wash. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Cough and sneeze into a tissue and throw it away. Clean, high-touch surfaces frequently. Some examples include doorknobs, credit and debit cards, cell phones, keyboard and mouse devices, and toilet handles. Stay home if you're feeling ill. If you have any flu-like symptoms, avoid contact with the public. Avoid sharing personal items in spaces with those close to you. Seek medical care early if you're feeling sick. Symptoms of the coronavirus can include fever, coughing, and shortness of breath. Seek medical care if you develop these symptoms or if you've been traveling or have been in close contact with a person who has traveled from an area with an ongoing spread of COVID-19. We encourage you to visit hcflgov.net/staysafe for up-to-date information and tips.
This is Dave. Dave doesn't know his home's flood zone and was not able to heed flood warnings. Dave and his home are soaked. This is Noah. Noah is an informed citizen. He was warned in advance about potential flooding in his area. Noah took precautions. Noah is dry.
And I saved the animals too.
Good job, Noah. When it comes to flood warnings, be like Noah, not like Dave. For more information, visit hcflgov.net. Be safe, be informed, know your flood zone.
Hello, I'm WWE superstar Titus O'Neil, and today I'm coming to you as a neighbor. You owe it to yourself and those you love to get tested now. Get the care you need and protect your family. Hillsborough County is offering free coronavirus testing and no health insurance is needed. It costs you nothing to get tested. Visit hcflgov.net/staysafe for more information and have a reservation made today. Share this with a neighbor, and let's come together as a community and keep fighting to get through this. Together, we will come back stronger. God bless.
Hillsborough County, along with local and federal health experts, are encouraging residents to wear cloth face masks to cover their nose and mouth when in public to help stop the spread of COVID-19. There are not enough surgical face masks for everyone, and available ones should go to healthcare workers and first responders. It's easy to make your own face mask out of common household items. The CDC and U.S. Surgeon General say you can use an old scarf, bandana, or make one using a t-shirt plus 2 rubber bands. Cut part of the t-shirt into a square, fold it from the bottom to the middle, then from the middle to the top. Repeat those steps one more time, then add a rubber band to each side. Bring each end to the middle, then secure around your face. They should fit snugly but comfortably. Cloth face coverings should not be placed on children younger than 2 years of age or people who have trouble breathing. The CDC emphasizes that while wearing a face mask, you should still practice social distancing, stay 6 feet apart from others, and continue other preventative measures such as frequent hand washing. We encourage you to visit hcflgov.net/staysafe for up-to-date information.
Flossing in the morning is a really great way to keep your teeth healthy and start the day. But when you're through, here's what you do. Throw it in the trash, don't flush it. There's a problem lots of people don't know, called sanitary sewer overflow. A condition buried deep in the ground, inside a pipe where bad clouds are found. It's a problem we can all help solve, so throw it in the trash, don't flush it. Baby wipes, bandages, cotton pads, paper towels, dental floss, clog up bad. Medicines, kitty litter, cotton swabs, hair. Throw them in the trash, don't flush it. It just takes a second to do the right thing, so toss it and let's keep our pipes clean. Throw it in the trash, don't flush it. If it's not toilet paper, don't flush it. Even if it says you can, don't flush it. If you're having any doubts, don't flush it. One more time, don't flush it.
Hey everyone, did you know you could watch today's meeting live and on your smart device? Head on over to the Hillsborough County Meetings channel on the YouTube app. Click subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you can be automatically notified when Hillsborough County Meetings goes live. You can also browse any of our past meetings by swiping to the left and scrolling down. All that's left to do is just to click on a video. It's that easy.
We're live.
Good morning. Welcome to this meeting of the HART Board of Directors on February 1st, 2021. The meeting format is hybrid with our quorum physically present at County Center, while some of the board members and others are participating virtually. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. And you should see flag on your screen in a moment. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You can be seated. And Ms. Arthur will take attendance.
Good morning. Director Castor?
Here.
Director Hudson? Director Johnson?
Here.
Director Knight?
Here.
Director McLean? Director Myers?
Here.
Director Schisler?
Here.
Director Frazier?
Here.
Director Kemp?
Here.
Director Overman?
Here.
Chair Smith?
Here.
Director Vieira?
Here.
Director Williams? You do have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I'll remind everybody to keep their devices on mute unless you're speaking. The rules for the hybrid meeting participation are provided in the packet on page 5. We won't be reading them since I think we're getting familiar with them after all this time. Next item is the approval of minutes. And from our January 4th. Who was that, please?
Schisler moved to approve.
Maya,
Thank you.
second.
Thank you. I've got a motion to approve by Councilman Schisler, a second by Commissioner Myers. Ms. Arthur, please take a roll call vote.
Director Castor?
Yes.
Director Frazier?
Yes.
Director Hudson?
Yes.
Director Johnson?
Yes.
Director Knight?
Yes.
Director McLean? Director Myers?
Yes.
Director Schisler?
Yes.
Director Kemp?
Yes.
Director Overman?
Yes.
Chair Smith?
Yes.
Director Vieira?
Yes.
Director Williams? The motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. I was advised we have no one signed up for public comment today. Is that still the case?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
All right. So we have no public input this morning. We can move right to the action items. The first one, action item 4A, was previously reviewed by the Operations and Safety Committee, but no recommendation was formed because they had a lack of a quorum. Scott Drainville, our Deputy Chief of Maintenance and Facilities, you are recognized to present this item. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, board members. This morning, staff is requesting that the Board of Directors review and approve Resolution R 2021-02-05, authorizing the Chief Executive Officer to purchase up to 12 non-revenue support staff vehicles from the Florida State Contract or Florida's the Sheriff's Association in a not-to-exceed amount of $663,484. These vehicles will be replacements and is fully funded through the FY21 capital budget. With that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Hudson, you're recognized.
Thanks. I actually don't have a question about this item, but with committees, I know we often lack quorums to have final and official recommendations, but is it possible for committees to make informal recommendations or some sense of where the committee is to expedite things when we come to the full board, or is that not possible? That might be a question for Julia.
Right, I think so. Ms. Mandel, can you respond?
Sure. Well, in this set of circumstances, typically it would come with a recommendation, but you could not take an action in this instance because there was no physical quorum in place. You can identify consensus when you don't have your physical quorum in place by just a discussion as to the direction, but you just can't actually take a formal action. And when we have a situation where we can't get a physical quorum for these committee meetings, what we've been doing is turning them into workshops. So you're really just in that process of discussion. That's kind of why this is coming to you in this direction with no actual recommendation.
Gotcha. I just think it might be helpful to, even if it's taking a roll call vote, understanding that nothing is binding, just to have a sense of how this is teed up for us. Because I know as COVID persists, we're going to have these quorum issues at the committee level for a little while. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Councilman Tressler.
I'd like to move approval.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by.
This is Commissioner Kemp.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Kemp,
Second.
second by Commissioner Hudson. Councilman Schisler, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you. This was reviewed by the Operations and Safety Committee, and had we had a quorum, it probably would have been approved, but since the motion was already made, I'm supportive of it.
Thank you. Director McLean, you're recognized.
Just for the record, for this meeting, we did have a quorum initially. The meeting went long.
Sir, you need to turn your
We are unable to hear
You
him.
need to turn your mic.
Yes, I'm sorry, Director McLean, we're unable to hear you.
Yes, thank you very much. Just for the record, I believe we did have a quorum for this meeting. However, the meeting went long and we lost quorum is what happened. And if my recollection was, I believe most were in favor of the recommendation. We just couldn't take a vote because we lost quorum.
Thank you. Commissioner Overman, you're recognized.
Thank you. And maybe as an alternative, since we don't, quorums, in-person quorums are difficult, that maybe the chair of that committee could make a short report on the consensus, if that is the direction we will need to take to ensure that this board has an understanding that it has been reviewed by the committee and there was at least a consensus on whether or not it should move forward, or a lack of consensus in order for the board to recognize that we are being asked to review this thoroughly before approving it at the board level.
Thank you. Commissioner Kemp, you're recognized.
Thank you. I'd just like to speak to the committee process for a moment with a little, I should just say from 2017 through 2018 through part of 2019 and maybe more, we had no committee process at all, period. No, nothing. Everything was just decided by the board. And so whether the committee process votes or not, I almost think it's insignificant, as much as it is an opportunity to review with a little depth. I can hear myself on the speaker in there, but to review these things with a little depth, to have a better understanding, and to bring that to the board. So I can appreciate where Director Hudson's coming from, but I just don't even think we have to go through that process. I think a roll call would take a long time. You could give a summary, but I mean, it's just as well just to have the review at the committee and then bring it to the board, with a certain number of people being well-informed and being able to move it or make early objections and have the discussion.
Thank you. I think that's the end of the discussion. If everyone would take their hands down if they're finished, if they don't need to be recognized again, and we'll call for the vote. We've got a motion to approve by Commissioner Kemp and seconded by Director Hudson. So let's take a roll call vote, please.
Director Castor?
Yes.
Director Frazier?
Yes.
Director Hudson?
Yes.
Director Johnson?
Yes.
Director Knight?
Yes.
Director McLean?
Yes.
Director Myers?
Yes.
Director Schisler?
Yes.
Director Kemp?
Yes.
Director Overman?
Yes.
Chair Smith?
Yes.
Director Vieira?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next action item was previously reviewed by the Finance and Audit Committee, and they advanced the action item for board approval with requested additional information. Mr. Ron Giraud, please correct my pronunciation of your name.
No, that is correct.
What is it?
That is correct, Giroux.
Giraud, project manager. You are recognized to present this action item.
Thank you, Madam Chair, board members. The Hillsborough County School District is requested to lease a 1.08 acre HART parcel located at 16492 South 301. It's a park and ride in Wamama, Florida, to facilitate the development of a southern Hillsborough County School District bus parking location. The Hillsborough County School District plans to relocate their bus assets to multiple locations to reduce their headway and traffic impacts. To assist with their plan, HART will be entering into an initial 5-year term property lease with options to extend with the Hillsborough County School District. I've been asked to provide a basic presentation to kind of go over the property for anybody who is unfamiliar. So, not sure how to present this from here.
One moment, sir.
Everybody seeing this on their screen? There we go. Thank you. Again, this is a northern portion of the Wamama Park and Ride presentation. Next slide, please. So this is a high aerial view. You can see in relationship to 75 and 301, Sun City and Wamama in that area. The arrow indicates the location of the park and ride. It was put in by the developer that developed the Walmart that has been in that location to reduce traffic impacts. One of the incentives that they have when they do a construction project. Next slide, please. And the property is directly behind the Walmart, as you can see there. There are two portions of that parking lot, a frontal portion, which has 9 ADA parking spots and 20 other parking spots for a total of 29 in that first portion, which is the area that we at HART utilized during the time that it was in service. The back portion is about 100 and so parking spaces for the general public to use as a park and ride, to utilize the transportation assets. And it went out of service, I believe, in 2017 after Mission Max, and it has been sitting vacant. We do have an arrangement with the county, because this property was conveyed to HART to utilize for transportation on the grounds that it would always be used for transportation. So it would need to be continued use for transportation, or we would have to convey it back to the county. At this time, the county is not in any, has no desire to reclaim the property. So by utilizing this with the school board and allowing them to put school buses in there, it fulfills that requirement, and it also provides a sense of security that right now our facilities, grounds and maintenance people and route maintenance have to continually go down and clean that property because there's some vandalism, some dumping that happens there. It is fenced, and so it's a space that can be easily vandalized. So it's kind of imperative that we show more usage there. It would prevent some of that. Next slide, please. Again, that's just the highlight of the area that they are intending to lease from us. Next slide. And that's the background for anybody who has any questions about when it was last in use, when we actually acquired it. We do plan on intending to use this property again, and if the all-for transportation tax does come through and we end up expanding routes in this area, But by leasing this property, we can still co-use it because the front portion of the property would still be able to be utilized by HART assets, while the rear portion of the property would be able to be used by the school district. So it's an amicable agreement. And I believe that is the end of my presentation, unless you have any questions.
Thank you. Councilman Schisler, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. That was a good presentation. Thank you. This case did come up to the Finance and Audit Committee, and everybody was pretty much in agreement. But there was one question, and I'm ready to make a motion to approve Resolution R 2021-02-6. But we did have one question, was the amount of property that HART owns scattered all over the county without anybody creating any extra effort. Is there a list of that, of what we have anywhere that's, that we could take, that we could be given at some point in time? Again, if somebody's got to create that list, don't bother. You got enough other things to do. But if there is a list available, I'd be curious to see where some of this property is. But other than that, I'm ready to make the motion.
To answer that question, yes, we do have a list. We're putting together a presentation that we plan on putting in front of the board to inform any of the new board members and existing board members that are unaware of all the properties that we do currently own and how we own them. Either we own them, we lease them, they're conveyed for properties.
That's a great idea, and thank you for that suggestion. So we have a motion to approve by Councilman Schisler. Do I hear a second before I go?
Second.
Was that Director Knight?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion approved by Councilman Schisler, seconded by Director Knight. Commissioner Overman, you're recognized.
Thank you very much. And I appreciate being elaborating on the 120-day notice. I've been a great proponent for restoring that South County line, and it's critically important that we keep that on our radar, given that there's a significant number of transportation disadvantaged individuals that live in that area, a strong desire for transit, and the reason we've done it is literally because of cost. So I want to make sure that we have those protections in place. So the question lies in the event we were to give that 120-day notice, is there enough land there to coexist with the school district at this point, or would there need to be further development of the land as to maybe by the school board in order to facilitate some sharing there?
Under the current situation of the way the property is situated and the portion that they want to lease, it would pose no impact if HART wanted to start running service out of that park and ride again. Like I said, there's 20 regular parking spots and 9 ADA parking spots in the front portion of that property that HART would use, still allowing the school board to use the back portion. If the turnover or traffic rate within that park and ride got to the point where we would have to reclaim the back portion from the school board, the 120-day notice would be sufficient to use for that. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, that's thank you very much for that answer. That was my concern, is because I would like to see that route utilized more, or at least restored to a level that people were able to change their behavior to take advantage of it, and 120 days ought to be sufficient to get that started. So thank you very much for the answer. I appreciate it. I'll support the motion.
Thank you. Commissioner Kemp, you're recognized.
Thank you. I just like to thank staff, I think, for a much more thorough presentation. And I did learn some additional things today about the county and the Walmart, which, that wasn't even explained the other day. But so I think that's really great. And again, I appreciate that we will have a presentation, because I was like, who knew we even had this property? So I'm glad to know that we're coming forward with a presentation on all the properties that we own, so we can at least get an understanding of that. Also, I thought the other information that I don't think was given here was that I guess we are leasing it for $1 a year. And there was some discussion about that and, benefits vis-a-vis that. But anyway, I totally support it and was glad to see more information that the board really needed about the property and just about our status around the county in terms of property.
Thank you. Yes, I agree. It was a very good presentation, succinct and with a lot of detail in it to answer questions. And with that, seeing no further discussion, we can take a roll call vote on the motion by Councilman Schisler, seconded by Director Knight.
Director Castor?
Yes.
Director Frazier?
Yes.
Director Hudson?
Yes.
Director Johnson?
Yes.
Director Knight?
Yes.
Director McLean?
Yes.
Director Myers?
Yes.
Director Schisler?
Yes.
Director Kemp?
Yes.
Director Overman?
Yes.
Chair Smith?
Yes.
Director Vieira?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. That takes us to item number 5, the second and final reading and adoption of the revisions to board policies. Ms. Mandel, you are recognized to lead us through that, the purchasing card policy.
Yes, this is the second final reading and adoption of a request to revise the board policies made by staff and John Edmondson in purchasing. Just to boil it down to what is being requested, it's some general cleanup language to the policies that relates to the P card. But the most significant change is the increase from $3,000 to $10,000 under which the P card can be used. And that is in line and consistent with the HART procurement manual. Your process does require 2 readings and 2 hearings on this matter, and this would be the second reading and hearing for adoption. And if there's any additional questions on the policy, Mr. Edmondson would be available to have any further discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Kemp, you're recognized.
Thank you. One of the reasons or at least this came to the attention of the board, was with the former whistleblower, or with the whistleblower complaint and issues that were brought up about the procurement card. And it wasn't about that there wasn't enough money, that the budget wasn't high enough, or that you couldn't make a charge of enough. But one of the issues was that certain staff were asking their subordinates to put the P card in their names, the P card charges in their names. And so there wasn't transparency about who made those charges. And there were significant questions. Also, apparently, and I didn't realize this before this, but our P card charges are run in real time online. There's a site to be looking at. Is that still, can staff just tell me? I didn't look after I heard this, but I know that when the original issue happened, I did look. Is that still like a checkbook online or something like that still is out there?
This is John Edmondson, Director of Procurement. Our P card transactions are listed every month in our transparency report. And then our P card program is managed in real time online. The real time management is not available to the public. That's for internal administrative staff only, and then P card users, obviously. And then at the end of every month, when we post the transparency reports for the organization, we include the P card transactions from the previous period.
Thank you. So in terms of, there was a staff person that was having subordinates charge things on the P card that was actually their charges. And there were questions about those charges. Not in particular, one charge that I think there were restrictions on, that you couldn't get a hotel, for instance, in Hillsborough County for a conference. And yet that was done to the tune of something like, I don't remember, but something like $10,000. And then a subordinate was a person whose name it was put under, so you didn't even know who did it. So what kinds of safeguards do we have in procurement or in this process to ensure that that doesn't happen again?
The first is the P-card policy itself, and in conjunction with the P-card policy, we actually have a user's manual that goes into a little more depth about these policy issues. But the very first bullet point under unacceptable actions is the prohibited use of the P-card or P-card number by anyone other than the card holder. In addition, part of what we added to this revision for this policy is a layer of review and approval by departments, for department managers and directors, et cetera, and then by division chiefs as well. So a department manager, a division chief, all has to review P-card transactions. And then each month, P-card statements go first, they are generated first by the cardholder, they're reviewed second by the cardholder supervisor, they're reviewed third by a member of our accounting staff, and then finally, I review every transaction. So we added multiple layers of review at the front end when the transactions are being generated, and then on the back end when the monthly statements are cut. So we look at every single transaction thoroughly before anything gets approved.
Okay, I felt very concerned about the staff person or persons maybe that were put in this, compromising position by putting their own, accounts, or as if it was their accounts rather than their supervisor's account. So I think it's really important that that be clarified, and I appreciate the clarification with regards to that. And I don't know if there's, I hope the safeguards are enough to make sure that that never occurs again, because I wouldn't want to see anybody in that position. But with that, I guess I'll move approval.
Thank you. Got a motion to approve?
I'll second that.
Second by, all right, motion by Commissioner Kent, second by Commissioner Overman. Councilman Schisler, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you. Question, make sure I understood this right. We're raising the P-card value from 3,000 to 10,000? And how many cards are?
Commissioner, this is John Edmondson again. It's not that we're raising the P-card value. Each P-card holder still has a single transaction limit and then a total card limit. Those are set based on the number and types of transactions that each P-card holder is expected to take on during a given month. What we have done is raise the standard for the ability to use the P-card for a micro purchase, and that micro purchase threshold is $10,000. If that micro purchase is above the single transaction limit for the P-card holder, they still have to go through a request and approval process in order to use their card to complete that transaction. And then the administrative director of the program actually has to go into the system and allow the system to accept that single transaction. So we did align it with the micro purchase threshold, but there are also a lot of other steps along the way before it can be used for anything greater than whatever the amount the card holder has been approved for.
And so that'll be based upon the level of the employee then?
Yes, each one is different. Each card holder has a different function within the organization, and their function largely dictates how they'll use that P card. And then we set single transaction and total card limits based on an analysis of that function.
And that's a per month transaction limit, right?
Correct.
What's our total? Any idea what our in any given month exposure is by all the P cards in circulation?
I would have to perform an analysis. I don't have that number off the top of my head, Commissioner.
Okay, I was just curious. Okay, thank you. I can support this.
Thank you. And I'll just say that it gives me great comfort to know it's Mr. Edmondson in the mix of approving all those purchases. I know you to be a stickler about procurement and policy. So with that, there's seeing no further discussion, let's have a roll call vote.
Director Castor?
Yes.
Director Frazier?
Yes.
Director Hudson?
Yes.
Director Johnson?
Yes.
Director Knight?
Yes.
Director McLean?
Yes.
Director Myers?
Yes.
Director Schisler?
Yes.
Director Williams?
Yes.
Director Kemp?
Yes.
Director Overman?
Yes.
Chair Smith,
Yes.
Director Vieira.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to item 6 is a board discussion item on a proposal to amend our state legislative priorities. This is being presented for board discussion by Ms. Lorena Hardwick, Director of Government Relations, to update us. Ms. Hardwick, you're recognized.
Hi, good morning, Chair. Good morning, Board. Lorena Hardwick, Director of Government Relations. Can you hear me, Chair?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning. I just wanted to bring an update to the board. Last year, you approved a legislative priority for radio communications. And in the last quarter, staff took a little bit of a different direction on how to move forward on getting our radio communications and radio equipment up for HART. And in that process, we did have a partnership that we had been exploring with the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. Part of the legislative request was a very heavy law enforcement partnership with HCSO and with our other law enforcement partners. Removing that aspect from the actual legislative request made it very challenging for us to go to Tallahassee and request dollars from the public safety mechanism and funding from public safety. So in the last quarter, staff has been looking at other options on how to move forward. Radio upgrades, KADVL system, that is an absolute priority for HART. As an agency, it is an infrastructure priority. It is a priority for the public safety, safety of our operators and of course of our community. So we are moving forward with it. We are just not moving forward with it at the state level to fill out and submit an appropriations request for that at this time. We do have funding, so it will be funded, and we had $10.1 million that came to us. We were awarded through the MPO TIP process, and that was set aside for FY 2023. In the last year, understanding that CAD-AVL and radio is a priority for us, we were able to work with FDOT and shift, I believe it is $5.2 million to that project. So from that $5.2 million is where we will be obtaining dollars to go ahead and do the radio equipment upgrades. But since this is something that you had approved as a legislative priority, we just wanted to come to you and let you know that we will not be pursuing that at the state level, but it is still a project that will be moving forward. And that is all I have.
Thank you. All right, so is there any board discussion on that item?
Chairwoman Smith, this is Melanie Williams. I have a comment or a question, please.
Yes, certainly. You're recognized.
Thank you. I just want to confirm the $5.2 million that you referenced. Did you pull that from another plan, or is that those are dollars that were just being held at this point?
The $5.2 million is being held specifically for the CAD-AVL project. And because it is a complementary project, it works together, the radio equipment and the CAD-AVL, will be connected in one system. So we're utilizing some of those dollars to pay for the radio upgrades.
Okay, so they initially were both funded, and you're slanting a few more dollars to the radio side.
I don't know if the right way to say it is that they were initially both funded, but for sure we had the funding for CAD-AVL, so we're just going to pull some of that to make sure that we have dollars for the radio equipment.
Okay, I think I understand. We're pulling dollars from a project that was funded to move to a project that was not initially solely funded.
Correct, and it's complementary. It's one system. The radios will be interacting with the upgrades to the technology side of things.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification. Commissioner Overman, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm going to turn my volume down a little bit, see if that doesn't run the room. I thank you very much, Ms. Hardwick, for this presentation and update as it pertains to the radio. You know, we have some really important items on our legislative platform, and I know you're working with our lobby teams on the state level, and we have a federal level team. We've heard of late that there is some real opportunities and at the federal level that we could reprioritize maybe some of our projects based on potential opportunities for us to participate in. And I wanted to ask the board if there was merit at a future meeting of having, you know, our legislative lobbyist team come talk to us about their priorities, our opportunities, who our legislative delegate partners could be, so that the board could actually act as advocates, which is what we are, on behalf of the organization in partnership with, you know, Ms. Hardwick's efforts as well as our lobbyist team. I always thought it was very odd that we only heard from them twice a year. And given the dollars we've committed to the work that they're doing and their role in supporting us as board members, there may be merit in having them bring us up to date a little more than a couple of times a year. And as we move into the appropriation schedule, this period, not only at the state level, but also at the federal level, is it something the board might be interested in seeing moving forward? And if so, you know, I'd like to make a motion that we hear from our lobby team, but I'd like to hear from the board's perspective on that.
Thank you. I think that you make some very valid points there, Commissioner Overman, that we could be a little bit more updated and even engaged in helping to move some of these items through our agenda. Director Johnson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to agree with Commissioner Overman on having an opportunity to be able to have Lorena and her team with both the state and the and federal teams having a chance for them to come in and tell us a little bit about what's going on in DC or in Tallahassee. I think it would really help us from an advocacy standpoint to be able to assist Lorena, because I don't need to tell everybody here how fast things move in Tallahassee this time of year, and especially with everything that's going on in DC right now, I think that would be an excellent opportunity to be able to do that. And Commissioner Overman, I wasn't sure if you'd actually made a motion, but if you are going to make one, I'd be happy to second that. That's all I have, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. So do I have a motion, Commissioner Overman?
I'll make a motion that we, at the next board meeting, hear from that's not until, March, and by that time, the federal appropriations will be well underway. And they obviously, with virtual meetings, they don't necessarily have to show up at the boardroom. We could schedule an opportunity for them to present virtually to bring our board up to speed, or at least to the subcommittees that meet between now and then. That's another opportunity that to bring it to the subcommittee, and then we can summarize what's going on if that expedites it. But either way, I would make a motion that we hear from, in partnership with Ms. Hardwick's work at the local level, hear from our federal and state lobbyist team or advocacy team on an update on our priorities and how they're moving them forward strategically.
And Chair,
Johnson,
Chair
I'll second
Smith,
that.
I apologize for the interruption, Chair Smith. This is Lorena Hardwick. It's a wonderful motion, and I just wanted to ensure you that this is something that we are moving forward with. We will be looking at the dates and the process, Director Overman, just as you mentioned, coming to the committees, and we are looking at a workshop that the board will be attending, a virtual workshop that I know Ms. Mendel will be facilitating. We are looking to add the legislative aspect for the federal side to that workshop because those are dates that are already on your calendar. So I just wanted to give you that so that you know that, yes, we are moving forward with this. We did have a wonderful team discussion on Friday with our federal team, and we definitely want to, you know, bring in the committee in February and then tack on to your workshop already occurring, that legislative process, and talk about the appropriations and, you know, what HART's priorities are at that time.
Are you saying, Ms. Hardwick, that it's unnecessary to move through the motion, that this is something you're planning to do?
It's the board's pleasure, but I wanted to make sure that I, you know, chimed in and let you know that this is already in progress.
I think we'll continue with the motion just to get that board direction. I have a motion by Commissioner Overman, seconded by Director Johnson, to have that board engagement and update process. And Ms. Mandel, you're recognized.
Yes, I just wanted to reiterate what Lorena was saying, is that there is a planned workshop that will partially be just kind of legal, sunshine law, refresher type things, you know, public records, board process, but then also is intending to also include issues related to your legislative priorities. Something I would throw out there for consideration, I do sit as general counsel to other boards, specifically the Tampa Sports Authority. They actually have a place on their monthly agendas for legislative updates, like and because of your engagement with your legislative team, I think it might be something you want to consider adding to your agenda. Even if there's nothing to report, it's there for you to consider, and it's something that might be of value to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Overman, is this addressing your motion, or?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to clarify, the motion is to make sure that we do this, and we're a little late to the game in this particular case because we're in February now. But the motion really is to make sure that we do this, and I would actually recommend that we do it in January. But since we're past it, that date, and there's been a suggestion that maybe we might add it to a regular agenda, I still believe that it's important that we put into place the you know, prior to a session, whether it be congressional at the state level or the federal level, that the board be brought up to date on our legislative platforms and how we help facilitate that advocacy. So while we're behind that period now, I still believe that it would be appropriate to include that as a method of making sure we're up to date. So the motion stands.
Thank you. Commissioner Kemp, you're recognized.
Thank you. I think Ms. Mandel's suggestion too, to put it on there as a regular item is a good one. Again, I have to say, during the first several years we were here, I mean, I can't even remember that we had a legislative committee, but they never met. And I had asked to be part of that. And so we didn't even have that. So this is a huge improvement. You know, and I think it's fine to just, you know, express our board's interest. I appreciate Ms. Hardwick's description. I'm sure that at this point, we probably have a whole lot more going on in both the state and federally, even if it's not being regularly reported to us, but certainly that engagement and regular report, just as updated, would be, I think it would provide a great strength, actually, to our ability to get these things. I've said before, you know, I mean, I was an aide to Congresswoman Castor, and I've been waiting yet to be asked to ever, you know, no one's ever asked. I've talked to her personally and brought things to her, but you know, it's never been because I was requested by HART to do so, or because in a coordinated effort by HART. So I think all this is good and important to kind of like make sure that we start to get this together. But I feel like that's happening, and I appreciate the update and the expressed interest, because you know, now I think with the funding, whether we get it or not, we look at that as a future, and we have, I think, some resources to work with, or will, to kind of be able to look at those federal and state grants. Thanks.
Thank you. And seeing no further board discussion, let's have a roll call vote.
Director Coster?
Yes.
Director Frazier?
Yes.
Director Hudson?
Yes.
Director Johnson?
Yes.
Director Knight?
Yes.
Director McLean?
Yes.
Director Myers?
Yes.
Director Schisler?
Yes.
Director Williams?
Yes.
Director Kemp?
Yes.
Director Overman?
Yes.
Chair Smith?
Yes.
Director Vieira?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Board.
I'm sorry. Did somebody?
It was just me, Chair. I said thank you, Chair, and thank you, Board.
All right, just me. And let's see, with that, we'll go to our next item, which I believe this is our first official Chief Executive Officer's report from our new CEO, Ms. Adelaide LeGrand. You are recognized.
Good morning. Hope everybody's doing well. I do think we have one modification. The first item on the chair's report is the sole source procurement and one-time deviation to procurement manual. And John Edmondson is going to give that report. So if we can go to that.
Thank you, Ms. LeGrand.
Thank you.
John Edmondson, Director of Procurement, for the record. We had no deviations from the procurement manual this month to report, so that's always a good thing. We had 4 sole source awards that we issued during the month of December. The first was to the Microsoft Corporation. HART uses Microsoft products across the entire industry, and this sole source award was needed to renew our annual support plan for all of those products and various infrastructure components. The second was to Swiftly Incorporated. Swiftly is our transit planning software platform. This is one that's all across the nation for transit agencies that helps us to keep track of real-time performance monitoring, run times, and a whole host of other functions that are used to help us create process and performance improvement. Swiftly is a sole proprietor of that software, and we needed to renew our annual user license for streetcar operations for this one. We issued another one to Presidio. Presidio is the current vendor for all of our Cisco services and configurations. That's our infrastructure components on the IT side. This particular award was to renew various network and domain server user licenses and supported services. Then we issued one to Insight Public Sector. And Insight Public Sector is the vendor currently providing our maintenance and support of our Veeam network storage server solution. That award in December was needed to renew the user license for that software and a maintenance for the server network storage function. Now, I can't get into any of those other IT details. I'm not that good in IT, but that's pretty much the scope of our sole source awards for the month of December. Any questions?
I see no questions for you, Mr. Edmondson. Thank you for that report. Ms. LeGrand.
Okay, thank you, and thank you, John. So for my official report, I thought I would take this opportunity to share with you my 90-day plan. I don't know when the presentation will come up, hopefully shortly. Here we go. So, I've completed my first month. Today is February 1st, and I started on January 1st. So I guess this is like an anniversary. Should have had balloons and the such, but inside the fireworks are going off. So I spent the first 30 days, if we advance the slide, really engaging with the team and having an opportunity to, walk through the process of getting to know a new city, getting to know a new organization. And, my 90-day plan really talks about engaging internally, engaging externally with our partners, and then externally again with our customers and our community. So for the first 90 days, if we advance the slide, I really spent time talking to, and these bubbles represent, individual people as well as different departments. So I spent the first 30 days really getting to know the team, the leadership team. So I had one-on-one conversations with all of the executive team that's on the top of the line. And then below the line, all the director level people, except for those 2 gray boxes, they're still scheduled to have conversations this week. I also talked with several of you, board members, on one-on-one conversations. I have a couple of those scheduled for this week as well. So really the intent here was deliberate. You know, you have to understand your audience, who your team is, what they're working on, what are the great things that they're doing, what are the things that they celebrate every day, and where are the opportunities for us to, you know, fine tune. So that's really what the intent has been thus far. You know, finalizing this first month, if we go to the next slide, is really to then engage more fully with the local partners and stakeholders. I've started some of these conversations already in the first 30 days, but again, continuing with FDOT, we've had a couple of conversations, you know, and a lot of these engagements, you can't just have one conversation, right? You just have the introduction and you delve into the projects, then you delve in a little further. So several of these organizations that you see here on this slide, as well as those who are not listed, this is just, you know, a sample of those that I'm scheduled to talk with, will also become scheduled as well. But again, the objective here for these conversations are to, 1, understand the role that HART is playing as a partner to these organizations, 2, understanding how we can strengthen our partnerships, and 3, finding out, you know, the value of incorporating public mobility, public transportation in the work that they're doing. So those are the conversations that I started having and will continue to have. And then the next slide is really getting out into the community. And I know that's a little difficult, and that's why deliberately I scheduled it for March with the hope that things would be a little closer to normal with the vaccine being out there. Granted, there's some challenges with that as well, but just still hopeful that there could be some more community engagement. I know that there are some opportunities which we have scheduled on my calendar to have some of these conversations virtually, but I really want to get to see and meet the customers who are using the system, go to their communities, to the grocery stores. So some of what we are working on is I guess you would say a new approach to engaging under these times is going to the grocery stores, going to Walmart, just having an opportunity to have a little kiosk and just say, I'm here, and, you know, leave some, what do they call them, survey type, you know, cards so people can have contact information and leave a note or 2 if they're interested. But we're coming up with a team of ways to still engage with the community in a safe way. So the intent after these 3 months, if you go to the next slide, is to really use this information that I hear from the community, from our stakeholders, from our team, to really identify opportunities where we can enhance our workforce, you know, build the team that we need to deliver the service of today as well as the service for tomorrow, and then where it's needed to attract new talent to join the organization. And, you know, going through this process will also help us to start really redefining the vision for the organization. Where do we want to aspire toward as it relates to public mobility, and how do we as a team, as a region, as stakeholders and customers get there collectively? So I just wanted to take a couple of minutes to share with you what I've been doing for the last 30 days, what I plan to do for the next 60 days, and how we are all working together to get there. So with that, I believe that's my last slide, and thank you so much for the opportunity to address you.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. LeGrand, for that 90-day plan and overview. It looks like you are hitting the ground running and getting very engaged with the community, and very happy to start out this way. We do have, as I've talked to you about, some very informed and engaged citizens around transit and transportation advocacy. One of those groups is our Metropolitan Planning Organization's Citizen Advisory Committee. Those citizens are just amazingly informed and passionate about transit and transportation. The Surtax Independent Oversight Committee is another great group of citizens from a broad perspective, engaged and informed about transit and transportation. And I'm sure they'll be anxious to have a chance to meet with you at some point as you get into meeting with people and doing your community outreach. So, seeing no other board discussion, we'll move to the chair's report, which is none today, and ask if our general counsel has a report. Ms. Mandel.
The only thing I was going to report was this workshop that we have coming up, under which we'll do a fun analysis of sunshine law and public records, and I'm looking forward to getting that together for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have, as usual, several reports in your backup. And coming to a close, I'll ask for any old business or any new business that board members want to bring up.
Chairwoman Smith, this is Melanie. I'm not sure if you can see my hand up at this time. I wanted to bring up the fact that we have been holding our committee meetings downtown, 7th Avenue, and at times we have enough people there for a quorum, and at times we don't. So I wanted to ask about our plans to ensure that we have a quorum and we can conduct business accordingly, and if there are any changes or things we need to consider as a result of that. That's part one of the question that I wanted to bring up today.
Maybe Ms. LeGrand or Ms. Pettit could respond to that. Any thoughts?
Good morning, Chair Smith, board members. This is Ms. Pettit. I'm HART's Chief of Policy and Performance. We are working with board members, securing quorum, trying to assess the availability to make sure that we have physical quorum present. We do have sometimes last-minute cancellations or changes of plan, but staff constantly is working with the board members to see how we can secure the physical quorum during our meetings.
Thank you, and I see Commissioner Kemp's hand. I want to get back to Vice Chair Williams after she speaks to this. Commissioner Kemp, you're recognized.
Thank you. I just wanted to, I'm still very, very concerned about the situation with COVID, and particularly as we go into a very busy time here with the Super Bowl and some of the warnings that are out there about the variants and the vaccination not being out fast enough. And while I think it's very obviously important in order to move business that we have the entire, that we have an in-person quorum for the board meetings, I don't know about the value of an in-person quorum for the committee meetings versus just having them virtually for safety until the situation improves. To me, again, I mean, you could even take a vote or preview and look at something, and I just think there's great value to doing that without having to have the in-person quorum and a formal vote on the committee meeting. So I just like to express that. I think a little differently about this, but until kind of, I'm less concerned about it until times get a little safer, because, you know, that formal board vote doesn't hold the board to anything. And, you know, I don't know, rarely has a issue not been moved to the board anyway, you know, regardless of the vote.
Thank you. I have to say I agree that the committees might want to consider going completely virtual for a little while for the sake of safety, as well as the staff time in managing a hybrid meeting. I think it's a little easier to manage if everybody's virtual or everybody's there. And while everybody can't be there for at this time, and it's risky to do so, and until we find out how much more risky things are going to get with the variants, the Super Bowls, until more people get vaccinated, we might consider going entirely virtual with the committee meetings. But Ms. Mandel. you're recognized. Any thoughts on this?
Yes, under the way your policies read and the processes that you have, and also the requirements of the state of Florida through case law and attorney general's opinions, that in order to actually have a committee meeting under which you can take action, you do need to have that physical quorum in place. You can, in reality, turn all of your committee meetings for now into workshop meetings, under which you would have items come before those for the workshop. You still take public comment, but no actual action can be taken. What you may want to consider, if that's what you're doing, I don't want to call it a vote because I think that would be problematic, but you can ask for consensus and allow people to place their consensus as part of that record. And in other jurisdictions, I have seen that be done in that way, and you can do that virtually. You don't need to have a physical quorum or a quorum at all, or any physical presence for that. But I just want to make it clear that it wouldn't be the same as your committee meetings. It would really be a workshop meeting for each committee, and then each committee can, for the items brought forward, for the presentations, can place on the record what their consensus is on the item. But it would be brought to you for a full action at your board meetings if those are items that needed to have an action taken, under which it would need to be fully reviewed and analyzed, not as like a consent item, but as an item that's in front of this board for its own action to be taken.
Thank you. And I'm going to go through the hands for discussion on this one piece of Vice Chair Williams' points, and then I'll get back to Vice Chair Williams. So Commissioner Overman, about the committee meeting quorums.
Thank you, and thank you, Ms. Mendel and Ms. Williams, for bringing this up. Obviously, we talked a little bit about this earlier when we were addressing the committee report. And I do agree that a consensus report by the chair of each of the committees may be a great way of operating in order to allow virtual attendance and full virtual participation as well in discussion for the very important items that are vetted by those committees prior to bringing them to the board. So I do believe if we can find a way to address that issue, it's important. But I also do know that, the Board of County Commission has sent at least 2 letters to the governor, suggesting the difficulty in operating this way with an in-person quorum, when the dangers of infection actually cause challenges to the leaders in our community that have to show up, because they have to show up. And that is a challenge. And I don't believe HART may have sent a letter of support for addressing the challenges associated with meeting in person. If we're able to support modifying the way we operate to keep our board members and our staff members and the folks that, have to produce these meetings virtually, safe, then great. We need to do that because public safety is critically a priority that's necessary. And the reason this is more urgent is because what we have discovered as the rollout of the vaccination plan is going to take, a long period of time. We don't anticipate addressing those that are above age 65 effectively until maybe March, even April. And that means that one wave of only 200,000 plus our first responders, is a small percentage of the population of Hillsborough County. And many of us don't qualify for vaccination and won't for a while. So, especially our staff members as well. And so I would urge in concert with Ms. Williams' conversation or whatever her motion may be, that we add sending a letter of notice to our governor indicating some of the challenges associated with a quorum. And I'll stop there.
All right, let's talk about the quorum issue, and then I'll circle back to Commissioner Overman about a letter. Mr. Hudson, you recognize.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess a comment and a question. The comment is that quorums at the committee level seem to often come down to just one person. At the last Strategic Relations Committee, I couldn't stay beyond the allotted hour, and so we lost our quorum. And so while I have a general preference for in-person, and like everyone, a severe fatigue with Zoom and everything like that, I do think there's a case to be made for going to a virtual workshop. And that leads to my second question for staff, which, please be candid, of how much work does it take to do the hybrid committee meetings? I understand these need to be hybrid, but Lynn, I'd welcome your thoughts on, and please be honest, is it a lot of work to do hybridize the committee meetings?
So there is added component to hybrid meeting is an additional staff member who controls camera system from AV room. But other than that, no, it's not.
Not a big deal? Okay,
no.
that's good to know.
Yes.
Thanks. That's all I've got.
And thank you. Director Fraser, you're recognized.
Just being sensitive to COVID and what we have going on, I wanted to point out that I think some of the large value we get from the committee meetings are fleshing out ideas, expressing issues that gives the presenter an opportunity to go back and fix what needs to be fixed or address issues. But the more important part is that information get to the board somehow if we're going to have to take some type of action on it. I think the committee minutes have been doing a good job of fleshing out the arguments and the issues that are raised during the meetings, but I think what Council Mandel said is important in terms of if we don't have a quorum or if we're fully virtual, it is helpful to have to know what the consensus was of the committee when it comes to the board. So I think that would be a helpful addition, even if we don't have the quorum, because you can't always tell from the minutes where everybody was coming out if they didn't make a comment that got put into the record. That's it.
Thank you. Director Schisler, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Piggybacking on what Director Fraser said, that is a very critical component that in the past has been an issue. When an item comes up to the whole board, if there's a question, the presenter sometimes has to wait a meeting to bring the information back. Whereas if the question comes up during the committee meeting, it can be addressed and then brought back to the full board, as you said, very, clarified. So that is a very good deal. I hate to sound like a broken record, but our staffing level, our service levels are at 95% of pre-COVID, if I'm not mistaken. How many of our employees are allowed to just not be there? They have to be to work. How many are working remotely? That's not an answer. Nobody can answer that because it's hard to say. But we expect our employees to go to work, and we need to be where we're supposed to be also. I understand concerns with COVID. I'm over 65. I have the same issues and same concerns. But I know we've got a job to do. Temple Terrace is meeting regularly in person since May, and we've agreed to do these jobs. We've agreed to take on this responsibility, and I think it's important that we be at the meetings for in-person quorums. Last week we had 3 meetings. I'm proud to be in each one of the committees, and the first one we just couldn't do anything because we didn't have a quorum. And so it's a consensus is nice, but I don't know that we're doing justice to what we're supposed to be here for. And I just think that we need to at least try to make a better effort into filling the physical quorums so that we can do what we need to do and do the business of the organization overall. And I'll stop there.
Thank you. And not hearing a motion so far, I'll circle back to Director Williams for the rest of your, give the floor back to you.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I make a motion to reevaluate our committee meetings and determine if we have enough members and other steps that may be necessary for us to reach consensus, or at least have a thorough conversation during the committee meeting prior to coming to the board.
I'm not sure, I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand. The motion is to reevaluate, or do you want to propose one direction or another?
Well, obviously, there are options that we could utilize, and I would ask staff to take it back and explore the options that would be more conducive to us being able to move the business forward, and come back to us and let us know what's best for us at this point, considering COVID, considering the fact that we need to be present, and considering we have a business to run.
So you're asking for a staff to bring back some work with the committees and the boards and bring back a recommendation to our next board meeting?
Yes.
In March?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did I hear a second?
Second.
Second,
Director
Commissioner
Myers.
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Myers. Any board discussion? I see a couple of hands, but I think those were raised before. Director Hudson, Director Kemp.
Yes, I'd like to speak to the motion. I just think it would be good to make a pure motion right now. I can appreciate staff coming back in another month, but I just like to, if I could just make a substitute motion to move to a workshop format on our committee meetings. And just, I think it's important, as Director Frazier said, that we, have reports and understand what's going on, but there's great value in having these committee meetings, having this discussed, and I don't see the added, there's not much added value to me in having a specific vote come out of it at the time. And so I just think, considering the safety issues involved now, I'd like to make a substitute motion. And I appreciate where, and I'm glad that Director Williams raised this issue, but I'd like to make a substitute motion to just, at least for, I guess I could say for 3 months, and then reevaluate, that we move our committee meetings to be virtual committee meetings.
I'll second that.
All right, so the motion on the floor is now the substitute motion by Commissioner Kemp, seconded by Commissioner Overman, to move to a workshop format for all our committee meetings virtually, and allow full virtual participation without requiring a physical quorum. Is there any discussion about that motion?
Can I make a comment, since I offered this second?
Sure.
I believe that it is still important for the committees to have a quorum. We are approving a virtual quorum. Just because it goes virtual doesn't mean you don't show up. It means you do show up. You just show up virtually, and that makes it much easier to report a consensus, because you can actually see people and you can hear their comments. So I think if there's any clarifications that are necessary, that the workshop still requires a committee quorum. It's just we're accepting a virtual quorum in order to be able to provide a consensus report by the chair to the board.
Thank you. General Counsel Ms. Vandell is going to comment on the quorum, the word legal definition of quorum, I think.
Yes, I just want to make it clear that if you're going to have this direction be that the committees really will be held in the manner of a workshop for the next 3 months, and that you're requesting as part of this motion that they only, that I want to just make sure we're all clear, that you're requesting that these meetings can only proceed forward, these workshop meetings can only proceed forward if there is a quorum present virtually. Typically, you wouldn't need a quorum for a workshop, you can just have it. So what I hear this request, and I want to just make sure everybody's on the same page, is that the committee meetings will be workshop committee meetings that require a quorum present virtually, otherwise those meetings will need to be canceled. Because if you don't put that in as part of your motion, then they can move forward regardless of whether or not there's a quorum present virtually.
Commissioner Kemp.
I just have one question about that, because, for instance, if we had committee meetings in person, let's just say and I want to have a quorum there, want to have everybody there, like Commissioner Overman spoke to. In fact, I think this should make it easier for that to happen. But I'm just wondering what happens if we, meet in person at HART, and we don't have a quorum for a committee meeting. Does the committee meeting, it still moves forward, it just doesn't come up with votes, recommendations, isn't that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. That was why I wanted to clarify this, because what you were saying is that all of these, now I'll call them workshop committee meetings, require a quorum present virtually. I'm not saying if during the course of the meeting somebody drops off that would be what you're saying, but that if you can't even obtain a quorum to start the meeting, that meeting would have to be canceled, versus if you just go ahead and keep them as virtual meetings, that there's no quorum required, then they can go forward regardless of whether or not you have that quorum to start the meeting. You're just that added layer is what I wanted to make sure we're clarifying.
Yes. For me, I would just like to move them virtual and have the same requirements we would have if it would be in person, which is, we want to have a quorum, but if we don't have a quorum, that's okay. We just keep moving with the meeting.
And if I may, it seems to me that the chair report that we would get at our board meeting would include some comment or information as to whether you had a good participation or whether only one person showed up. So you really aren't giving much of a recommendation of consensus. So that could be kind of part of the report if attendance really dwindled. So with that, we have a motion on the floor, Commissioner Kemp, seconded by Commissioner Overman, and for the next 3 months to hold committee meetings as virtual workshops. So let's take the roll call vote.
Dr. Coster.
I vote no. I would vote yes for Ms. Williams' motion because there's so many questions just concerning the workshop. So I would vote to take a month just to iron out all the wrinkles before we make a decision on 3 months.
Director Frazier.
I agree with Director Castor. I'm going to vote no and vote yes for Ms. Williams' motion.
Director Hudson.
No.
Director Johnson.
No.
Director Knight.
No.
Director McLean.
No.
Director Myers.
No.
Director Schisler.
No.
Director Williams.
No.
Director Kemp.
Yes.
Director Overman.
Oh, given that I seconded it, votes yes.
Chair Smith.
Yes.
Director Vieira.
No.
The motion fails.
Motion
10-3.
fails.
The motion.
Okay,
Yeah.
that takes us, thank you. That takes us back to the original motion by Director Williams, seconded by, I think it was Myers. Director Myers?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, to ask staff to bring back recommendations about how we can hold committee meetings virtually. Is that your motion, Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Thank you.
Specifically, I would like recommendations on what we should do in order to in order to move the business forward, whatever that may be. I'd just like for us to explore the options and see what's available to us.
Thank you. And seeing no further discussion, Commissioner Kemp, is your hand still raised from before? Okay, then let's take a roll call vote on the motion on the floor.
Director Castor.
Yes.
Director Frazier.
Yes.
Director Hudson.
Yes.
Director Johnson?
Yes.
Director Knight?
Yes.
Director McLean?
I'm going to vote no, and only because I do believe all meetings, whether they're committee meetings or board meetings, should be held in person to obtain a quorum and to move business forward. So I vote no.
Director Myers?
Yes.
Director Schisler?
Yes.
Director Williams?
Yes.
Director Kemp?
Yes.
Director Overman?
Yes.
Chair Smith?
Yes.
Director Vieira?
Yes.
The motion passes 12-1.
Thank you. Vice Chair Williams, the floor is back to you. Did you have something more to add?
Yes, I'll make this quickly. In regards to our financial requests that are being made to the board, I just would ask that staff would take those requests and not ask unilaterally for information, maybe give us a better context of what's happening when we move dollars around. I think we've got to make more decisions that are looking at more aspects of the situation, even though we're talking about one specific call out. So I just ask staff to take that back for us, please.
Thank you. And I think your point is well taken, Director Williams. Thank you. And I see no other hands for new business.
Madam Chair.
Director McLean.
Yes, ma'am.
You're recognized.
I don't know if this falls under the category of old business or new business, but at the last meeting, I asked a question about why we're meeting here as opposed to the HART facilities for our normal board meetings. And before, I make a motion or anything, I'd like to ask Ms. LeGrand, prior to doing that, if her facilities are ready to support and hold full board meetings. As you notice right now, we've got about 11 people at tables here. So over to you, Ms. LeGrand, if you can support that before I ask the board if we could move back to that facility.
And before I recognize Ms. LeGrand, I just want to remind the board, we talked about this at our last meeting. One of the biggest issues is our HTV staff and their stresses during this pandemic and capability of televising our meetings. As I mentioned before, we do have a very active group of people, community of people who follow the HART board meetings, and it is important for transparency that our meetings be available by video, live, as well as online on the YouTube channel. And during this stresses of the pandemic, the HTV staff has advised that they're only able to provide that service in County Center at this time. From there to Ms. LeGrand.
So to respond, and thank you, Commissioner Smith, for giving the details as it relates to the abilities of the recording of the meetings. We have talked internally about the opportunity to hold these meetings at our facility. We also recognize that there may be some other options for getting the videos put on live, like live streaming, outside of using the current structure. So that's something that we can look into and see how feasible it is, how reliable that source could be for the live feed, and be able to come back and provide you with some options.
Mr. McLean?
Yeah, so you're telling me we cannot, based on that requirement, hold the board meetings at HART right now?
So based on that requirement, if we have to use that specific vendor, as Commissioner Smith stated, if they can't come to our facility to record it live, then the answer would be no. If there's the opportunity to go through another source to still provide the same level of service and provide live stream of our videos, and as well as the pre-recorded video on the YouTube channel, if we could still do something like that through a different outfit, then we can present that to you and let you understand, the cost of doing that, and a decision can be made if we want to bring them back to our facility. But based on the footprint and the social distancing, we do have the ability to host the meetings, as we do with the committee meetings at our facility.
Okay. Is there a way to determine how many folks watch this via live streaming? Are we talking about 1, 2, 3 people? And is there truly a requirement to hold it using this forum via the HDTV?
So you can't see my face because I have on a mask, but so I was smiling when you asked the question about how many people. That is a question that I asked our team, and Lena did start looking into that. I don't know if you remember off the top of your head, Ms. Pettit, but it wasn't, at least when I asked, it wasn't a substantial number. But if she has the specific number, I'm not sure.
Yes, good morning again, Lena Pettit. So the difference with HTV coverage is that HART is available and able to also transmit the meetings live stream on YouTube without HTV support. However, what HART is not able to do is live stream them on HTV cable channel. And as far as I understand, we checked this, that's what they currently do. I didn't check with HTV the viewership of that particular cable channel. I will follow up on that and figure out what the viewership is on that channel.
Okay, so just to follow up on something you mentioned. So this is accessible to the public via YouTube, which is merely an internet connection versus HDTV.
That is correct.
So our meetings are publicly available, if I'm hearing correctly.
That is correct, but the HTV, that's the part that we have to get some clarification if we have to have it live streamed on that cable channel, or is having it available via, some sort of web-based outfit. Is that exactly? So we just need to find out legally if we have to do one or the other. Maybe.
Right. I can get this using internet. I can get this using an iPod, my phone. Okay.
Madam Chair, I don't know if you want me to address that now, or we want to have some additional conversations and we can address it later.
Ms. Mandel, you're recognized.
Yes, I wasn't sure if you wanted me to address the legality of the requirements of streaming now, or we want to bring that back as part of a bigger conversation later.
Let's hear your thoughts now.
There is no sunshine law requirement that we stream anything. That is a public interest and need. I say that with the caveat that when you have meetings that members of the public cannot attend, you have to provide them an opportunity to address your meeting, meaning, public comment, and you do have to have an opportunity for there to be some level of attendance. So if you were to move into a space, or when I say a space, I mean a figurative space where you are not going to stream your meetings, then you do have to allow members of the public to attend. So that's really what the legal requirement is that attendance. Now, the attendance via, and I don't mean to get too in the weeds on this, but the attendance via some kind of streaming service or some kind of cable, that's not really ever been tested as a question. Legally, we're all in this weird new space. So I would always encourage more versus less opportunities for folks to see it, since the attendance is and the physical attendance of the public is not allowed. But we can review that further, whether or not you have to be on cable versus a streaming service. It's one of these questions where we really probably don't have a good legal answer to that. But as you make some decisions on proceeding to different venues, we can look at different options as it relates to that.
Thank you. Director McLean is...
Yes, and Madam Chair, and for the rest of the board members, I mean, the reason I bring this up is because I think HART has done a very admirable job in taking care of its staff, its consumers, if you will, of busing, and I do believe they're fully ready to house this board meeting back in their facilities. As I mentioned in the last meeting, to me, this is not only an image, but it's a pride factor here. that we can take care of our own and we can conduct business in a normal fashion, and we can do it right at the facilities we have. I do believe if they have the capability to stream via YouTube, as I mentioned, you could basically pull that down using any form or fashion, whether that's a computer or a phone or anything. So I think that's available to the public, and all we have to do is ensure that the public is aware that's available in that method. The additional venues or avenues for streaming, I think, are just additive, but it doesn't defeat the fact that it is available via YouTube. So I would like to see us move back into the HART facilities to conduct our normal board meetings and committee meetings if we're going to do so in person. But that's where I stand as a board member. I stand fully with the HART staff, and I truly believe they have our best intentions in mind and our safety in mind. So.
Thank you. Councilman Schisler, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you. What did we do pre-COVID as far as broadcasting? The world has to fall off its axis. We need to keep moving forward. So I just, I think we broadcasted live then, didn't we?
Yes, we used the same medium, live stream on YouTube channel through HART, pre-COVID.
I agree with Director McLean. We need to get back to normal. I'll stop.
Thank you. Commissioner Overman, you're recognized.
Thank you, and I want normal too. I honestly, truly, I truly do. I think Ms. Mandel's comments were critically important to pay attention to, because one of the advantages of working with HTV is the actual public participation. There is a process that allows someone to check in. We're able to verify that that person is the person on the phone. We're able to allow them to participate virtually, rather than continue to send in an email saying this is how I'd like to comment on a meeting. There are a variety of steps that HTV has actually put into place to ensure that we're meeting the public participation level and verification of that participation included in our minutes, as well as, at the county and at HART level. If we were to try and do that ourselves, I have no doubt HART staff could put that up, but it's more than, I would suggest, more than one person at this point, because all of that process would now be on HART staff's responsibility to put into place if we were not working with HTV to do. And it's, in speaking with the HTV staff, that's not a small task. So it is clear, it is important that we're very clear about what we're required to do for public participation and what video access and publishing is involved. There's more to it than that. But I also want to thank the staff and Ms. Mandel and the board for being committed to doing things safely, but also trying to get as much business done as possible. So I also want us to remember, when we were meeting in HART's boardroom, that room was literally because people felt they needed to come participate physically to participate in that room, where we didn't have virtual public comment. That room frequently was, standing room only. So while we may not be able to effectively measure who's participating virtually, and we may have lost some virtual participation as a consequence of going virtual, we frequently have a large number of people that have chosen to actually participating in our meetings and have a great interest in how we do business. So to the point where the room was literally standing room only and standing in the hallway. And given the CDC recommendations for safety, there's no way we would be able to handle that. So I'm glad we're having this conversation, but I think it's important for us to recognize that the public participation is a requirement by state law for us to actually allow citizens to participate, and facilitating through HTV has been the solution we've chosen. So I think it's important for us, the staff, to come back to us to explain, if we do go to, the HART location, what it would take for them to be able to handle that public participation element that we need to verify. And I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Kemp, you're recognized.
Thank you. So it's I think it's paramount that whether we required under sunshine or whatever to stream or to make available that, and I think that was what Commissioner Overman was speaking to, but that we do everything we can to avail ourselves to the community access to our meetings, community access to commenting. When again, I believe I was surprised when I first was at HART for the first year, and I learned that they used to be put on HTV, and then HTV no longer was providing in-kind coverage of the meetings for HTV. So at the time that was an issue, and people weren't even seeing it. I don't believe, I'm trying to think back here on YouTube. So just now we have about 48 people watching on YouTube. I think that's pretty interesting. As Commissioner Overman said, we used to have our rooms full. I mean, even then it was a problem because we couldn't fit people into the room that wanted to see, and there's a very little lobby outside of the room. We didn't have a big enough space for those who wanted to participate. We've, I think, been hamstrung to some extent in the past for our ability to get public comment. So I'd like to see, even in the future, opportunities for virtual public comment to, be permitted and actually even encouraged, because, people having to do all kinds of things to get to our meetings during the day on Monday mornings is difficult public engagement. And I'd like to remind the board too that pre-COVID, there weren't really use of such things as the Zoom-like programs that we have now, the webinars, the WebEx, the Teams, the Zoom. I'm not even sure what we're on, what kind of program we're on right at the WebEx, I guess, at this time. But that wasn't even there at all as a way to do the meeting. So they weren't nearly as friendly as they are now to, I think, a viewer to see, actually. So yes, like everyone else, I tend to talk a lot of things by a Zoom type of program and online type of program, but I've also been attending things in person. There's great exposure to be had by that. And as I'll just say again, I'm a little disappointed because I just also think that it's very, that we're treating very lightly the danger that could be out there now. I certainly want to do everything as a responsible public official to do my part, whatever that may be, to minimize that, and that would be creating less exposure and less opportunities for COVID to spread in any form. So I'll say that I think that we really need to do everything we can to provide for public input, public engagement, public review, and we have had, since COVID happened, some new opportunities that we did not have pre-COVID. I think that's important to recognize for everyone here.
Thank you. Director McLean to close.
Yes, ma'am. If I may, I'd like to motion that we move back into the HART facilities while at the same time allowing them to explore HGTV opportunities.
Second, Schisler.
All right, we have a motion by Director McLean to move back to HART facilities for our next board meeting. Director McLean?
Yes, ma'am.
While we explore the options for public comment.
Right, yes, ma'am. That's a good way to put it.
Because I'm not hearing that public comment, we already at this point, have a mechanism that would accommodate virtual public comment at our board meetings. So you're asking for us to just go back to meeting in person at the HART boardroom and taking the public in there for public comment?
No, ma'am. I said, let's move, if we could move to the next meeting back into the HART boardroom and allow the staff to explore methods of public comment.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to be dense. I just, I think if we're exploring public comment before we are not sure we're going to have public comment if the motion passes and we meet in person at the HART facility.
If I may?
Oh, or is your motion for a hybrid?
One minute, Madam Chair, if I may, Lena.
Yes, thank you. Sorry.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. We can support virtual public participation now during our committee meetings and board meetings. Very similar to what HTV does.
So with that said, I will amend my motion and just say, let's move back into the HART facilities for all board meetings and committee meetings.
All right, and we've got a second by Commissioner Director Schisler.
Chair,
if I may
question.
ask, yes.
I can't figure out the raise your hand thing. I would like to hear from Ms. LeGrand about what that entails and what cost is associated with that to move back over there. I mean, is it just a smooth transition? We show up at HART and everything's fine. We just have less room as board members and the public won't be allowed to come in. I know that doing this with the city, it is incredibly expensive and an arduous task to set everything up to allow the public access to these public meetings. So I would like to hear what the burden it may put on HART, if any.
So
thank you, Ms. LeGrand.
Sorry. Thank you for the opportunity. You know, this is a new discussion, as we're all aware. So there's a lot of due diligence that I would have to do in order to appropriately or adequately respond to the request. But what I can say is that, you know, if we had a meeting similar to this with the hybrid fashion, where all the board members weren't present at the same time and we didn't have the public in the room, I would feel a little more comfortable in that type of setting. But, you know, before even looking at the cost, because we're not structured to bring in the public into our meetings at this time. Our space, even though we can accommodate the same number of people sitting around the table right now, you know, our seating area, we could probably seat maybe 5 people. So, and I would say those 5 seats would be reserved for staff who have to, you know, get up and present to the board. So just take that under consideration, please, that we would not be able to physically open up our facility for the public. The second thing is, you know, it is COVID, and I have mandated that, you know, staff, those who can work remotely, to work remotely, and then for the leadership team to transition in on a weekly basis so that we keep the right number of people in the building, but we, again, limit the number of individual people in our administrative building at a time, just to try to, you know, have a better handle on our COVID cases. So I do want you to be aware of that as well. And then lastly, you know, we do have to look at a couple of things. I mean, not only the cost, but how reliable our technology is. For those of you who did attend our board meeting or committee meetings last week, Monday, you know, you are aware that we had some challenges, and I would hate to have, you know, our board meetings in our facility, and then we also have challenges, and the community cannot really access or hear or understand what's going on. So I do think this is something that we definitely have to investigate and analyze and get some more information. And if you are open to this approach, maybe we can modify the motion for us to do some more due diligence and then come back to you and present you with a report on some recommendations to moving forward with the pros and cons associated with each.
Thank you. Yes, I have several questions, but Director McLean, is your hand still up?
It is, and I appreciate Mr. Grant coming forward with those comments there. So I'm ready to also modify my motion to support her request right there, where we look at moving back into the HART facilities as quickly as possible. But that would be the modification I would make to my request.
So technically, what I'm hearing is you withdraw the original motion and make a new motion to ask staff to bring us back at our next board meeting recommendations for how and when we might be able to, and whether we might be able to move back into the HART facility and what that would entail?
Yes, Madam Chair.
All right. Mr. Schisler?
Yes, second.
Okay. Commissioner Kemp?
Thank you. I was going to make a substitute motion doing the same. That apparently was done the last time with the committee meetings, and for us to take a different tact than we landed on there, I think would be unwise. I'd also like to point out, although at County Center, it's apparently not being done with HART or the MPO, but one of the things that we have before our commission meetings, for anyone that shows up in person, we actually have the, thank God, precaution of rapid testing right there. And every commissioner has availed it, encouraged, and I think is doing it. And what we had that rapid testing for our staff and everyone, and I think about once a week. And we have found that several people that were intending to participate in our board meeting did test COVID positive. I'm not talking about commissioners, but some staff at the last meeting. And so that was, they were, did not participate, obviously, and sent home to quarantine and deal with that. So I'm just raising that again. I think we have to be, I like everyone to understand that. And I think we definitely have to do this with a recommendation from staff. And, you know, I'd rather have do safety than do haste. And as Commissioner or as Mayor Castor said, the also thinking about our fiscal, the fiscal impacts on the organization for this. So that's just in reaffirming where we're moving with this motion.
Thank you. Commissioner Overman, you're recognized.
And just to reiterate what Commissioner Kemp said and what Mayor Castor said, I think the report coming back needs to indicate the fiscal costs associated with making the move at this time when we have a positivity rate. While it's falling, and that's great, we still need to make sure that it's continuing that trend because we are taking the appropriate precautions. And I'll stop there.
Thank you. Yes, our positivity rate in Hillsborough County is still quite high. And with that, seeing no further board discussion, you can count me among the ones who feel cautious and wanting to ensure that we're protecting not just ourselves, but HART staff who have been dealing with COVID at the staff level as well here, and making sure that we at the same time provide for public comment during our meetings and the most accessibility we can to people. I will also point out that at our board meetings, we have, when we were meeting physically, we have had people go to great lengths, people who were disabled, who were transportation disadvantaged, to come to our meetings, and providing a virtual avenue for comment during our meetings, I think is something positive that is coming out of this COVID way of Brave New World dealing with things. So with that, let's take a roll call vote on the motion on the floor by Director McLean, seconded by Councilman Schisler, to have staff bring back recommendations about how we might begin meeting back in HART.
I apologize for the delay. I had to switch mics. Director Castor?
Yes.
Director Frazier?
Yes.
Director Hudson?
Yes.
Director Johnson?
Yes.
Director Knight? Director McLean?
Yes.
Director Myers?
Yes.
Director Schisler?
Yes.
Director Williams?
Yes.
Director Kemp?
Yes.
Director Overman?
Yes.
Director Smith?
Yes.
Director Vieira?
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Chair, you're muted.
Thank you. I'm surprised that's the only time I've done that this meeting. And I think we are, that's a wrap for our new business. Commissioner Kemp, your hand, I think is, there we go. And seeing no more.
Excuse me, Commissioner Smith, we do have one additional new business item, an overview on our Super Bowl process, if you may indulge us.
Right. Yes, please.
Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners, Board Chair, and Ms. LeGrand. Ruthie Reyes-Burke, our Deputy Chief of Transportation. Not to incur more of your time this morning, as I know we're ready to wrap up, I just wanted to provide a brief update on our Super Bowl transportation activities. And I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I'm controlling the slides. Yes, I am. Okay, so this brief update is going to talk a little bit about the services that we are providing, also a little bit about what HART staff is doing to support the event, including some volunteers, detour information, security, and of course the from a volunteer perspective, I'll just start there. We've posted some additional work in support of the Sunday Super Bowl event. We have a law enforcement transportation that we are providing. We did weigh other options for other requests that we received. However, this is the one special event, if you will, that we are providing transport. 5 vehicles, 10 operators, and 2 supervisors during the span from 9 a.m. until 2 a.m. We'll be moving officers to and from a parking destination to the area of the Amalie Arena. As part of that, also, we are bringing in additional operators in terms of service, additional operators and supervisors and additional staff to provide street team volunteers to support at our various transit centers to help and assist the public, and obviously on our phone systems. We are also bringing in additional maintenance technicians, fleet custodians, and such to support the influx of additional customers at our transit centers, obviously. And also, when those vehicles come back in for the evening, they're coming in at a later time than our services usually end, and so we'll be able to support pulling out the next service for the next day. I also want to just mention that as part of those volunteers that we're signing up, just historically we've seen Super Bowl Sunday and Monday be days where we experience some absenteeism, so we're also looking to ensure that we have proper staffing levels to put out the regular service on that Sunday and Monday. And clearly, Monday after is usually Super Bowl Monday flu, so we want to make sure we can take care of that and provide enough operators to have regular service out there for our customers on that day. We did weigh other options and other requests that came in, and at this time we do have a request that is pending that came in through the Super Bowl committee. However, due to FTA regulations, we have posted that back to our those charter companies and buses that are out there, and we're waiting still on responses on that. So that is a pending request, but has not been approved and likely will not, based on those regs and the charter members that have voiced their, if you will, intent to participate with the Super Bowl committee. To that end, there's also some Super Bowl shuttles that are out there. The city of Tampa has contracted that out. However, we assisted with planning and the routes for that service, so you'll see that it looks a bit like a HART service, but it's not HART running that service. but it is out there to support the public getting to the various places. We do have a couple of routes on detour. Those detours are published on our HART webpage. The Route 7 and 10 from the Marion Transit Center, based on their current routing, are now detoured in some way to work with the city's detour plans that were already out there, and also to be able to serve Julian B. Lane Park. So we're encouraging the public to ride our services, get into Marion Transit Center, connect with the Route 7 and 10 if you're not originating on those routes, and get over to Julian B. Lane to be able to participate in the Super Bowl experience, which is, I understand, a lovely experience, and if you have pre-registered for that, I understand there's a lot of fun happening there. And then I just wanted to share also that beyond that, our teams are participating with the security enhancements for the team. So we have some additional safety and security officers at our additional transit centers, additional mobile units that we've contracted with our security team. And then we also our staff is participating at the City of Tampa Emergency Operations Center so that we're in coordination with the city as any events or movements need to happen, and we can relay that back from our control center back to our teams. So I just wanted to give that brief update to the board, and of course, if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer that.
Thank you. I see no questions. That's a great presentation. I'm glad that I didn't adjourn the meeting before we got there, but I had no advance notice that that staff was going to make a presentation on that topic. So we almost missed it.
We apologize, Chair, Commissioner. We were at the last moment putting some thoughts together, and we decided that it was appropriate to share with this board.
Great. You can always text me during the meeting if you've got something that you want to bring up or put up if the hand function is not working for you. I see no other hands. I hear no other voices wanting to have any further discussion, new business, old business. And so with that, going once, twice, we are adjourned. Everybody have a nice afternoon.
11 o'clock.
Yeah, not bad.